There's a monster outside.
We have the discovery of a lifetime.
System go for descent.
My God. It's a megalodon.
He's kidding, right?
That thing's out there. We need to find it and kill it.
Why don't you just put a tracker on it? Did you guys ever watch Shark Week?
Welcome to the Box Office Bros podcast. Box Office Bros is a part of the Bears Ballroom Radio Network. Tonight is episode 14, The Meg. I'm your host, John Santucci. Call me Tooch. With me, as always, is my co-host and Box Office Bro, Joe Mandel, the Goon.
What's going on, John? How goes it, my friend?
I'm just back from a little swim, Joe, and went to see the Meg.
Yeah.
With, Jason Statham. And we had to go see this one, Joe, because it tore up the box office. We were thinking about doing some other films, but $45 million in its first weekend. Huh, Joe?
Yeah, that's pretty dominating for a movie that no one really expected it out of. I will say they had a really good marketing campaign for this film, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
For sure. I did not expect this movie to do this well, and I'm actually surprised that we're reviewing it. And, it wasn't terrible, Joe. I mean, I actually enjoyed it a little bit. I mean, it's not something, I would normally go see but what it is testament to people's love for shark movies ever since the 1975 film Jaws. It plays on people's fear of sharks.
Yeah, it really does. And there, I don't know if there's a bigger shark that I've ever seen in a film than this one, but man, it was really well done with the CGI. And overall, I thought the acting performances were really strong as well. Yeah,
it wasn't bad. That's something I want to talk about too, is the acting in this movie. As we get into the spoilers section, but people are willing to go see 7 or so movies about sharks flying around in a tornado. Yeah. We shouldn't really be surprised if we're going to want to go see this movie, Joe. So, I guess 45 million. That's a big number, but we can't be too surprised. Again, people love shark movies, so this is why we're ending up reviewing it now. Overall, give us your impression. Was it worth the price of admission, Joe? Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, John, I think it really was worth the price of admission, especially for me. I mean, I went to my local theater. They have Tuesday night shows for $5, so I went to go see it for $5. But I would have paid full price. I really enjoyed it. It's a stereotypical kind of summer blockbuster, but with this monster giant shark, and with Jason Statham, you get what you expect. He's kicking ass and doing crazy stunts. A lot of it, which was probably CGI in this film, but overall, man, I was kind of blown away. I didn't expect much out of it, and I have to say I ended up giving this movie a solid B because, I enjoyed it. It blew me out of the water, no pun intended, and my expectations were very low, and it exceeded them.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I'm going to give it a B-. I was hovering around C+, B-, but it had some cool ideas, which we'll talk about in the spoilers section. Some really nice visuals. It's your basic standard story, shark movie story. Hero, girl, man against nature. So I think I didn't pay much. I went to a movie theater and I enjoyed myself because these had reclining seats, Joe, and I was reclined fully. It was an evening show, so I was able to relax after a day at work, and I can't say I didn't enjoy myself. So that's why we're here reviewing it. We're saying, if you're bored, and you want to turn your brain off and go see sharks terrorizing and underwater action and submersibles, by all means go see the movie. If it's on cable, later on, you'll turn it on. If you've seen it before, you're in the middle of it, you may stay and finish it till the end, just because it's pretty entertaining. That's where its success lies, Joe.
I'm with you, John. So I give it a B. You give it a B-. Do we know what we're going to review next, John? I don't even know what the heck's coming out. Is it Predator?
I'm thinking I would like to see Mile 22, Joe.
Mile 22.
I love The Raid. Of course, Mark Wahlberg. We'll talk about him if we get get to go see this, how big of a star he is, and how big of a box office draw he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up for mile 22.
Mile 22.
I may have lined up a guest already for us. So next time we're back with Box Office Bros, it may be mile 22. So before we head on into the spoilers section, Joe, tell people where they can follow Box Office Bros.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter at the BOB Podcast. So you can hit us up for any movie review stuff or any questions you have, or basically anything, really. So if you want to reach out to us, that's where you're going to find us, at the BOB Podcast.
All right. So heading on into the spoilers section.
Spoiler alert!
All right, so Box Office Bros, we always talk about the opening scene, how it sets the tone for the movie. And Joe, our opening scene really did set the tone for this movie. This is a rescue mission. It's a flashback. And our hero is Jonas Taylor, played by Jason Statham. And he is on a very deep dive rescue mission. And he is on a rescue mission with two other rescue workers. And they are bringing people out of a sub that is on the bottom of the ocean, very deep. And Jonas has to make a choice. Gets out immediately with as many lives as he can, or everyone goes down with the ship, which is what he believed. And he has to leave two of his friends behind, Joe. So it sends him. It really sets the tone for the rest of the movie, because when we see Jonas again, he's kind of a alcoholic. Living in Thailand, I think, and living uncheaply in Thailand, and renting out his boats and fishing. It looks like, staying with a beer in his hand most often throughout the day. So, but he gained a reputation for being a bit of a nut, because he claimed that a giant something was biting into the sub that he was in, and they could never prove it. We then cut to the underwater station, Joe.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. This research facility that was funded by a billionaire who's played by Rainn Wilson, who I thought he was very good in that role. And he's kind of coming in for the first time, checking out the facility. And then sure enough, he's coming in the first time that they're having a dive go out. And they are I believe they're in Mariana's Trench. Right, John? Mariana's Trench?
Correct, yeah, right. They called it the Philippine Trench in the movie, but yeah, that's where Mariana's Trench is. And Morris was the, kind of the Bill Gates funder of the station, the underwater station and the deep dives. So, I love this character. He was, paid a typical aloof billionaire, And then we meet a few other characters, which is Su Yin, played by Li Bingbing, who's the lead actress in this movie. She's kind of easy on the eyes, Joe.
Yeah, very beautiful. And also, I will say that she played the part really well. She's been in a lot of movies. I believe the last movie I saw her in was Transformers Age of Extinction. She's been in a lot of other stuff. But she played the role really well, and she had a surprisingly good chemistry with Jason Statham.
Yeah, I did. You wanted them to hook up, and her dad, of course, is the lead scientist, played by Winston Chow. Mm-hmm. And then her daughter also did a fantastic job. I really like this kid actress. Her name was Shuya Sophia Kai, and she was really cute. She was funny. She also had a good chemistry with Jason Statham. They had some jokes. And then, really good supporting role was Ruby Rose, former MTV DJ and boxer, who plays Jax, the designer of the station. Really liked her character too, Joe. What'd you think of Jax?
Oh, I love Ruby Rose. She's been in the headlines lately because she was recently cast as Batwoman on the CW, and she's kind of getting a lot of backlash from fans. But personally, I think that's a perfect casting. I don't know if you've ever seen Orange is the New Black on Netflix, but she's fantastic in that as well.
Right.
Ruby Rose is very, very great, very good actress. I really respect how she's coming out in Hollywood. She's been in tons of movies lately. I believe she's in John Wick 2 as well, and there's some other movies. Right? I think so, yeah. And then, she's been popping up all over the place. So Ruby Rose is really, really good. I'm a fan. and I really liked her character. She was kind of like a badass techie.
Yeah, I wish she would have gotten some more scenes where she could do some more action scenes. But a good role still for her, and of course the others. Bigger supporting role is that of Mac, who's played by Cliff Curtis, New Zealand actor. This movie was filmed in New Zealand. It's beautiful, beautiful shots. So let's talk about the scene where they've discovered this cloud layer, and they have theorized that below the cloud layer lies a very deeper part of the ocean with perhaps a whole new set of underwater species never before seen. I thought that was a really cool scene, Joe, when they dive through the cloud in the first submersible. And the people who are diving into the cloud are Jonas's ex-wife, Lori. A character called The Wall, that's his name, and Toshi, who's played by Masi Oka, who if you remember, if you ever watched the TV show Heroes, he played Hiro Nakamura.
Yeah, he was
the teleporting time traveler of the show. So, but they deep dive through this cloud in the bottom, and I really loved all the colorful, weird looking, almost alien life forms down there. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. It was almost like a space movie, kind of, because it's like landing on a different planet.
Yeah, exactly.
And you kind of had this ominous feeling as they're diving. You're like, okay, when's something going to happen? I'm just waiting for it to happen. My girlfriend was with me. She had her eyes closed, and we knew it was going to happen eventually. And I'm sure there was a lot of jump scares for people. I know I got spooked a couple times.
Right. And to think up of all these creatures, I mean, whoever, was doing the CGI and art design for this movie had to invent life forms, and some of them were really cool, man. It didn't last very long. It was probably 5 to 10 minutes of this underwater world, but man, it was really cool, dude. I love that part. It's probably my favorite part of the movie. And then, of course, these three are down there, and they are, chased by something very large on their sonar, and you don't get to see it, which I thought was a good choice. They don't reveal it until later on in the movie. So, and of course, Jonas is located, and he tells everyone, "Oh, you're not going to talk me into, coming on board this rescue mission,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you say." But once they tell him it's his ex-wife, he feels an obligation, and he signs up and goes down. Of course, it's an exciting rescue.
Yeah.
And they're getting, switching into Jason Statham's submersibles, and these submersibles are really cool. That's one of the other things I like. The gliders and the underwater craft were really neat, especially the high speed chases in the glider. That was really cool. And then of course Toshi has to make a decision where he helps everyone out and stays behind himself.
Yeah, that was
he's a very short part for Masi Oka. So they are rescued, the Wall and Lori, and following them out through the cloud layer is the Meg. So this becomes the struggle, of course, and there's some great scenes, of course, Joe, where they, they're trying to catch the Meg, they're trying to tag it. There's a shark cage, all sorts of great things you'd expect in the shark movie. What did you think about some of the action scenes and set pieces of the second half of the movie?
Man, I tell you, there were so many set pieces that were set up that I didn't even see coming. Like, they have that scene where they're in the water trying to tag it, and then, Jason has got this cable attached to him, and it draws the shark's attention when they pull him back in. And sure enough, the shark ends up pulling the whole boat, and it's like, it goes from 0 to 100 in like 10 seconds. And man, this movie just notches up the adrenaline. You kind of get pumped up, and like, there's just nonstop action pretty much from about 10 minutes into this movie until the very end.
Right, there's that great scene where Jason Statham has to get into the water, and he's got the gun to tag, put the GPS locator on the shark, and he's swimming out there, and of course, it's very suspenseful when he gets a tag in there. There's one scene where the giant shark, they capture the smaller Meg, Joe, only to find out that there's another one that's even larger that eats the smaller one. So
yeah,
that was kind of a cool twist, So they have they have all sorts of things and all sorts of surprises like that. And Lee Bing Bing goes down into polycarbonate.
That was nuts.
Super strong plastic, cage. That was really cool. And of course, Jonas. First Jonas and Xian were butting heads a little bit. Because Xian thought that he had left Toshi down there on purpose. That was his reputation for leaving men behind.
Mm-hmm.
But he proves to her, that he rescues her from the cage.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, there's the great scene where Morris, tells everyone, let's, we're gonna call him in the Navy to kill the Meg. You're all gonna be okay or rescued. He goes out and tries to kill it himself, and didn't work out as he planned. He ends up trying to bomb what he thought was a Meg. It was a whale.
Yeah.
He ends up clinging to the whale like Ahab, and I thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, it was. But, there's a lot of humor too in this movie. I think that kind of is going to go unrecognized a little bit. I thought the chemistry between all these cast members was really good, and that kind of drove the comedy factor up. I can't remember a movie with so much action and suspense that was also so funny, John. It's been a long time since I've seen something like this.
Yeah, and while I was watching the movie, I kind of was like, man, I wish. And the producers and director, I know Jason Statham, originally slated to direct this movie was Eli Roth, the horror director of, I believe, Saw, maybe, or Hostel. Sorry, Hostel. And he wanted this to be really gory, and really, an R rating and stuff. And Bruce, this movie, they wanted it to be PG-13. I think even Jason Statham wanted it to be a little bit more violent, but, it ended up being more kind of campy. So I'm wondering if, I think it would have been a stronger movie if it was a little bit more deadly kind of for the viewer,
Right. I will say it wasn't
more gory.
Yeah, I will say it was not nearly as gory as like a Jaws or some of those other films. So I think I was kind of expecting that, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it wasn't there because I don't think it really needed all the gore.
Right, and I think I probably would have liked it. I think if it was kind of the harder R, gorier, movie. But I'm fine with the way it turned out. Maybe in the Blu-ray it'll be a little bit more gory. Maybe they'll have some extended scenes or cut scenes. Put back into the movie. And there was one social commentary in the movie, and that was the shark fin soup scene, if you know what I'm talking about. Where they find the fishing boat that's been destroyed by the megalodon. There was a bunch of sharks around where they without their fins, as people have been harvesting the fins for soup, in Asia. Mm-hmm. That was kind of a cool little dig there at the cruelty of shark fin soup. Yeah. But it was overall I had a good time, Joe. I mean, I didn't hate it. I'm not sure I'd own it, but I think if it was on cable, I'd watch it again. Especially if I come in the middle of it, be like, oh yeah, I remember the scene. It's that kind of movie. It was fun.
It was
Jason
fun.
Statham, he's a good action star. He was fine as the star of this movie. He carried the film well enough. He's likable. He delivered the action movie lines, with the machismo and humor.
Yes, he did.
Macho lines in there, which I thought were good too. That part of the humor of the movie. And overall, the cast did a fine job. But one thing I wanted to talk about was the acting, and that's I'm wondering if in the wake of movies like Sharknado, where they're kind of campy and the whole shark movie has been perhaps played to death, does it affect how the viewer reacts to emotional scenes? I'll give you an example where Shuyan's father dies, and she's got to deliver this, tearful scene as she says goodbye to her dad. And while I was watching the movie, I kind of had a feeling that all these predecessor shark movies kind of ruined that for me, because it's hard to get beyond the camp of a shark movie when you've had all Sharknado 1 through 7. You know what I'm saying? Did you get a little tinge of that when you were watching sort of the heavy acting emotional scenes?
I didn't. I kind of had those movies out of my head. Maybe it's just because I got sick of them so long ago. But I think I was kind of thinking that this would be more like Jaws. But it wasn't. It was kind of like its own thing, and I was totally cool with that.
Right, yeah, that's exactly. I think you hit it out of the park. I mean, it'll never add up. It'll never amount to Jaws. Jaws is the single greatest, shark movie ever. It just was set the standard. 1975. I mean, Jaws I'll even watch today. It's that good.
Right.
Classic. It really broke the barrier. It broke new ground for scares. It invented the genre of the shark movie, for which all these other shark movies have to benefit, from. So that was all I had to say about the acting, which I thought was, fine for this movie, for an action movie.
Yes.
Cast did a fine job. I was just a little worried that all of the Sharknado corny movies from the past, that's what they are, you're not really supposed to take them terribly serious, would ruin some of the serious scenes in this movie. And I had a hard time escaping from that. Maybe that's why I gave it a B-. But overall, Joe, I think if you're out and you are bored and you're at the mall, maybe you want to take in a movie, anybody, it's not bad. It's a popcorn movie.
Yeah, it's a solid time at the movie theater. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It might surprise you a little bit. It's like Jaws, but less gory and with more laughs. So if that's something that sounds good to you, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good time, especially if your local theater has specials for certain movie times or anything like that. Highly recommend it. It's like I said, I give it a B. It's a very good time, and if you don't watch it in the theater, it'll be a great movie to watch at home. So it's a good time. It screams summer, and it makes you want to not go to the beach.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it had good enough action, good enough underwater scenes. There's chase scenes with the submersibles being chased by the shark. That was really cool underwater, and of course it has the cool alien world of the very, very deep ocean. So, but for Box Office Bros, this is Tooch signing off. Thanks again, Joe, for being my Box Office Bro.
Anytime, my friend. I love reviewing the movies with you.
All right, we'll see you next week at the movies.